address for the afternoon, and I want to encourage you to listen to this perspective when it comes to cybersecurity. Our our speaker for this afternoon will be speaking, and we've titled this "Voices from the Field." Young innovators, startup, and researchers in designing secure tech. Our speaker for today is a cybersecurity leader, expert in cybersecurity leadership, strengthened expertise in SOC operations, has experience in AI governance and policy, a big advocate for women in tech and tech advocacy, and in innovation and research. And I have had a privilege of just interacting with her today. Gen Z in the house, you are represented well. Shifra Wairima, karibu sana. Come and talk to us. What's happening kwa ground? Makofi, makofi.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Okay, good afternoon. I see your mkorada. In Gen Z slang, we say mkorada to say you are alert. So mkorada, mkorada, mkorada. Okay, good. Let me just wait for the slides. So my name is Shifra Wairima. I am a big advocate for women in tech, and they say save the best for last, right? So I'm really glad I did the afternoon session because there were so many discussions happening here with the policymakers, people who have been in the industry for a long time. And I feel like the topic for today was majorly on talent, and that's what I'll be discussing in my session. So I'll start with a story. Um, my late mom used to be an engineer of the sort. So she didn't have a degree in engineering, but most of the things that she did in the house, she used to fix a lot of things in the house. I remember one time she didn't want to buy a TV aerial. So she decided to take an aerial from a radio and then fix it to the television and make sure that it works. It didn't work in the first time. So she used, every time she used to plug it in different walls of the areas of the room so that to make sure that it's working. And that was the first time I experienced engineering and innovation. So many people can ask me, how does this relate to young innovators and talent? So this brings me to three things I want to talk about today. And these are the fact that we as Africans, we might think that we don't have the resources to actually build, and this is something that we've been talking a lot for a very long time. Um, we need to be inventors and not consumers, right? So I was thinking, my mother used to use the different tools and available tools that are in the house to make sure that she can actually make something out of it, right? Africa, we have so many resources that we can actually use that we don't use them, right? And the second thing is that I've been asking myself, so my why. So I feel like if she got the right direction or the mentorship or the right direction to maybe an engineering course, then she would have been a great engineer right now, right? So I'm like, we have so many talent based in the African region, and not only African, but in those underrepresented places that people actually don't see. And the thing that is limiting us is because we tell people that you can't have access to jobs because they don't have a degree or because they don't have access to a certain certification, but they actually have a skill. And I got to hear one of the panelists, Andy Chadwick, talking about not giving people opportunities. Like cybersecurity, we have so many hackers and CTF players who are very talented in the cybersecurity space, but nobody's giving them a chance to actually explore different aspects of the corporate market, right? So that's where my topic comes in. Um, as we are talking about talent, I realize that Africa, it's not that we don't have the talent, we just don't have the eye to actually recognize the different talents that are around and actually incorporate collaboration through different countries, and we say this is what our talent can offer, and this in our country we have this kind of resource, what are we going to do together? So I realized that we need to have a keen eye on specific talents, and this comes to one of the documentaries I was watching for China. I don't know if it's true. So I know it's China or South Korea. So what they do is that they pick different talents from different categories. Let's say if it's sports, if it's academic, and then they put them in a specific school where they are being grounded to become the best that they can be. And then now from there, they can be outsourced to different other countries to give them jobs and make sure they bring the resources back. So we as a country, we as African, we need to utilize the talent that we have, and not only utilize the talent that we have, but also to utilize the resources that we have to build things and build the different systems that we actually don't have. So we talk about talent pipelines. Um, as we are talking about lack of talents, we said we need to actually have an open eye to keen talents that are around. So recently, for the Women in Tech, I started an initiative to try and identify the different local talents that are around, because I realized that we have this perspective that we can't grow as a talent if you are in a local county. Let's say if you're in Kajiado, but you can't have access to different events like we have right now, or different resources. But now the good thing right now, we have online presence. And with this online presence, we can be able to tell them that these are the kind of resources that you should be using. Now, from that, creating an awareness, you can also be able to go to them and tell them what kind of problems have you figured out in your local places. And recently I found a girl who noticed that their parents had an issue with their farmlands, and she said, I'm out of campus and I'm back home, and I realized there's this local problem that I need to be solved, but the problem is I don't know how to start it. So we started a mentorship class for techies, like for tech entrepreneurs, to make sure that she starts her own startup, to make sure that it comes from a local problem. And that's what we've been talking about. We've been talking about us using westernized policies, westernized solutions, cloud services. But the thing we should be doing is making sure that we empower the local talent to make sure they build all these platforms, right? So it all starts from the grassroots, just how Joylene said. Um, that's on talent pipelines, making sure that we have an open eye to talent and make sure that we get to them so that they can solve local problems. We've talked about regulations, and this is something that has been talked about the whole of the panel and the whole of the session, and this is a topic that has been talked about even on other events. But now, there's one thing that touched me that someone said. We will talk about cross-border collaborations, but do we trust each other to actually share all this information? So everything just lies down to trust. And a few weeks back, we were in the Africa Cyber Defense Forum in Rwanda, and I learned a new word. So this word is called inama. So for Kenyan, it might be, for the Gen Z slang, might be to skip a meal. For the millennials, it might be to bend. But now in Rwanda, Inama is how we were coming together and making sure that we discuss all these kind of problems. But now the problem is we are discussing so much on the policies that needs to be done, but we are not actually doing the actual work, which is we said we need to set up these policies. Are we setting up the policies? And not only setting up the policies, what I'm talking about is the groundwork. It's just the same way when you're in a community and there's a problem, they tell you go to Nyumba Kumi. Since I'm a Gen Z, I don't know if I am very conversant with how Nyumba Kumi works, but at the end of the day, with how I've had solutions were being made in those Nyumba Kumis, let's say there was a wife who was beaten with a husband, there was always a solution for it, right? So I think what we need to be doing in this fragmented regulations is that we should come together, we should speak, we should collaborate, and make sure that we have set policies that we can be able to trust each other and work together. I'm viewing this in a village perspective because as Africans, we have this analogy that we can actually help each other just from long time ago. We will come together and we will raise the kid together. Let's say if the kid has been running around with useless people, you would come together and say, you've not been doing the right thing, you need to change, right? But in this current generation, we are not actually taking the initiative to talk to the kids, right? But now we need to come back to the aspect of Africa as a village and see what kind of problems there is and actually set the necessary solutions that needs to be done, see a problem and actually solve it. So there's a weak intelligence sharing, and this also lies down to trust. So this is actually a topic that needs to be raised, and making sure that we collaborate while we trust each other, so that we just don't be sharing information and it's just local information that everybody knows. For academic, there was one of the panelists who spoke and said he learned Pascal, and it actually resonated with me because I did Pascal in my first year, and it was really funny because I'm not actually using Pascal right now. What we need to be doing is changing the system. I have this policy that I use every single time since I have the burden to actually go back to the community and bring back. So my policy is always changing the system one month at a time. We might be talking about the government, the policies, but now on the ground, what should we be doing? It's just the same way. If the kids of this generation are doing this thing, you need to ground maybe your kids or set them aside not to behave like the other kids, right? We need to set ourselves aside and make sure that as much as the system is slow, we need to ground the academic system. If you have a child, you need to give them an extra curriculum, get them an extra hobby, maybe if it's coding, if it's something that can actually build them. And with this changing the system one month at a time means that as much as they'll be in the school curriculum, and we're going to be doing a lot of work in the government sector, in the international sector, to make sure that the academic actually aligns to the markets. We need to make sure that once we are grounding the kids from the ground up, whether you're a parent, you need to be there. You need to make sure that they're actually learning a specific thing that's beneficial to them. And I think we'll take an example of China. Like right now, they've had this policy where no one can post on social media if they don't have a degree. You might think that they are petty, but I feel like they're smart. And making sure that all these systems that are actually set up in the government level had to be started when parents are actually raising kids, so that it can actually resonate with them. But if you bring something like that in Kenya, it will cause chaos because we haven't even been grounding our kids from the ground up. So that's also one thing we need to be doing, making sure, as much as we depend on the government to make sure to change the policies, let's make sure that in your homes, in your community, as I said, make sure that we live as a village and go back to the African roots. So for the solutions, you're going to tell me I've talked about the problems, but what about the solutions? Um, I'll put them in three pillars. So we have policy, we have talent, we have policy and governance, we have talent research, and we have funding and marketing. So for the policy and government actions, I've talked about the government actually coming together and discussing the problems, but we need to take action. So my action point for today is that let's make sure when you get out of here, let's network, let's partner, and make sure that this is not just a talking point, because this is something that we've been talking for a very long time, and let's not be people who just speak, but also make the actions, right? So I I myself work in the AI policy and making sure that Africa has a voice and in the cybersecurity sector. So if there's a way we can actually solve problems in the policy and government in the governance, make sure that we can actually partner and make sure this is something that we are actually doing on the ground. So for the talent and research, as I said, we are going to do a lot of talking in the policies and in the government sector, but at the end of the day, let's set curriculums in our homes, in our communities, in our places, so that the talents that we have are not actually being lost to the Western markets, but we're actually retaining the talent. Because once we retain the talent, we get the necessary resources and the necessary platforms that we need to be using. Because I feel like there's so much untouched talent base that has not been embraced in not only Kenya, but also Africa. And this is something that we need to be creating action points on it and making sure that we don't separate people with degrees, diplomas, but once someone has brought in an idea and they can actually do it, let's come together and help them build it. So for the funding and markets, we need to make sure that once we have embraced the talent base that we have in Africa, let's actually embrace the startups and the development that they've built. Make sure we have a listening ear to whatever they've built, and make sure that we put an investment on it. It might not be monetary, but it can be somewhat of giving them the necessary people they can actually work with, or the necessary requirements, or the necessary needs, or the frameworks that they actually need, because this is something that we actually give them for free. And since we have all these things we've been talking about and things we should be making action items on it, we need to be making sure that there's progress and growth in everything that we've been talking about. Set debriefs in different continents. We'll talk about the AU, but on a country perspective, we need to just come together and talk about all the problems that we have and make sure that is there any progress on your end? I've tried this, but it hasn't worked. So what do you think we should be doing? And with that, we can be able to grow with each other in the long term. So the call to action is whatever I've been talking about. Let's stop doing the NAMA without the action. So the action item, I'm not even actually going to read that. The action item for today is that let's hold each other's hand and make sure that if there's someone in this room that can actually offer a service or be a beneficial to whatever you're doing, hold their hand and say, this is what we should be doing in the talent-based industry, and making sure that Africa is doing better and innovating in the AI and emerging technologies. Okay, I think that was the last part. So that should be the action item. So I hope I've covered everything that I needed to today, and I'm hoping that we can collaborate and network after this. And if you have anything that we can work on together, please reach out to me. Thank you.
All right, Shifra, don't go far. Please just come next year. We're having the panel discussion, and we will having a panel discussion on basically what we have been talking about, so we can discuss this more. Um, Building compliant talent pipelines in AI and cybersecurity. To help us in this conversation, again, will be Shifra. Let's appreciate her much. We're also going to call Theophilus. Joe, please do come up. I would like you to come up and speak to us, give us your perspective from Ghana experience, and continue to challenge us with those questions that you have been doing earlier. Dr. Stanley Githinji, yes, you're there. You are right behind me. I didn't see you. Please come and join us. And our very own Cyber Pro head, John Mutunga, please come and join us up there so that we can discuss briefly on talent pipelines. And again, yours truly will run this this panel. Just come one seat closer, one close. Thank you, lady and gentlemen. I just want us to have a brief reaction to what you are hearing, what Shifra was saying. The talent pipelines need to be responsive to what is on the ground. Shifra is a global ambassador on responsible AI and cybersecurity, and this is an industry player. This is somebody who's comes from a generation that is receiving a lot of this training. They're on the receiving end of legislation. Joe, Daktari, you are an educator in this. These are now the recipients giving you feedback. What is your response? I'll start with you, Dr. Githinji. What is your response when you hear what they're saying?
So thank you for that, and good afternoon, everyone. Her presentation was very cutting because she mentioned some of the greatest things that the institutions are suffering from. One of them being on the data sets. For instance, most of
the data sets.
Data sets, yeah.
Okay.
So most of the professors and researchers were using those data sets. I've not seen anyone who is using local data set, and you're not in this region. I think most of the institutions or sectors are not willing to share the data sets. Another key thing that she mentioned is on the training, and I like the way she mentioned something to do with development of training. Then don't discriminate someone with a diploma, certificate, and that. I think we need to build a curriculum that actually be able to integrate everyone, because at the end of the day, we have to own it. We have to own the infrastructure. We have to own the solutions. We have to own the architectures, and more so, we have also be able to own and localize our ideas in regards to research and such stuff. Thank you.
Joe, with what is happening in Ghana, I'm not sure if you know exactly what's going on the ground, but in public policy, there's the policy, and then there's, in political science, they say the law of unintended outcomes. What pipelines are you aware of that I'd say the structure within Ghana is having to build in a pipeline for cybersecurity knowledgeable people and practitioners?
I would say that in our perspective for Ghana, for example, we look at the policy direction and the trends of what's happening now. I must say that there's a lot of shift in the Gen Zs today that are hyper tech, hyper use of data, and The reason why today in my country we are looking at the framework today, which has been reviewed, which has gone through first reading in Parliament. And we believe that to shift the focus of such so that we can align to global perspective is to first align the old data, old regulations we have to align to the global perspectives, just so that we are not caught unaware. And the trends of data being captured by large models on AI today is on the rise and it's on the high. And there's a lesser regulations in my country today. And the reason why, as we speak today, the CSA in my country, they are reviewing the laws today. And if you look at what they have been submitted, it's been on the talk of the town, on radios today, being they are bashing the government of not solely involving the youth today, like we had in some African countries.
Yes.
And so it's a trend and it's a dynamic that is flowing over time. And I believe that we are at the forefront of trying to do best to get the global policy that is best aligned to, like a colleague said, data set. Things that are being collected on AI, we don't know what are being used like other countries are using. And hence, you can see that US today is trying to streamline TikTok usage and what content are there for the use.
Allow me to ask, what informed the review? What informed? Was it ground up or was it pressure? What informed the review or the posture of the government to review?
In my country, where there are acts that are being passed, they are giving some form of a period at which it has to be reviewed.
Yeah.
And that period had gone past. It was to be 2022, but then the previous government didn't look at it.
So there were time barred.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. John, you've heard what Shifra said. How would you respond to the things she has raised, and especially the take home that she did give?
Thank you. And thank you everyone who is here. I'm looking at the issues of benchmarking, learning what is happening with the trend of the youth, the trend of the Gen Zs, and the previous, the setups which are out there in the previous generations. One area of growth is, especially in counseling, is first acceptance. That we accept that we are, I would say, a million years behind, but if I using a different currency, would say a million years behind. And then once we accept that we need to benchmark with the other generations, we need to
just let me cut you short. You say we need to accept what? What do we need to
we
accept?
need to accept that we are a little bit behind civilization. And once we accept that, we will run at a speed which we have already accepted. The challenge we have with the current setup right now is, if you are over 40 and you sit down with the Gen Zs, you think they don't know what they are doing. The first thing, we need to accept that they know what they are doing and they are ahead of us. That's over 40s.
So you use a word about, yeah, we can clap, you can clap. Majenzi, tunawasikia hivi, si ndio? Tuko hapa. So you use an analogy of, like in counseling, like, rehab, they say, if you are chemical dependent, the first thing you have to admit is that you're a dependent before you to do that. What does that look like? What does that look like for we who are over 40? What should that look like?
When I was growing up, and I think I'm a little bit odd, we were being taught you don't take a lot of sugar is bad, you don't watch a lot of TV is bad. And now I try to push that to my kids, and they told me, I found that it doesn't even work for them. Some of them don't even take sugar. I don't have many. And the first thing I did, and I will tell you very honestly, I accepted that last month, that I'm a different generation. These guys are in a different generation. And I'm putting this to the state. We are behind civilization. Maybe 20 years, 50 years.
Yes.
And when we pick the microphones and say, our data is out there in another country and we need to bring our data in, did we even ask those guys whether they're refusing to give us the data? We haven't asked them that. So I'm looking at, first we accept the data is out there. And we might not even need the data they have. We just need to refabricate ours. We might need to say the agencies are out there trying to discover and publish things. Maybe whatever they are publishing will be used by their kids and not us and not even them. So the first thing we accept is we are behind civilization and we need to move to catch up. What's the trick? Benchmarking what the youth is doing. If you go to developed countries, because I know we are developing country, I wish we were developed. Whatever we are talking about here, sincerely to speak, some of it is outdated. Now you think I'm bad. The first thing we need to do is accept. I'll give an example of a university we closely work with, the University of Tel Aviv. Those guys are not even discovering how to make a drone. They are now manipulating the drones in the sky to make sure they are watching other drones which are flying in their ecosystem. I look at it and say, how many years are we behind? Try to make a drone here, maybe you'll be arrested. And if you try to fly it in the Kenyan airspace, you will also be arrested for not for flying it without a license.
Mm-hmm.
We are behind, and we need benchmarking.
Okay.
Our kids are ahead, and we need to support them. We accept. Thank you.
So, Shifra, you...
Can I?
Okay, go ahead.
I think that what John is trying to say here is when you have people who are BBC, I call them BBC, born before computers, who don't understand the trend today, they find it difficult to adapt to what's happening. And the reason why we are always behind.
Yeah.
The reason why we are always behind. Today, if you put up probably the research to say this is what we need, this is how much we need to do ABCD.
Yes.
It is on someone's desk forever.
Yeah.
And the reason why Africa today, it is what it is. The European country today have funding for everything, including changing a man to a woman. They have funding for it already. I mean, Africa.
So Shifra, you're hearing, I think these are people who are acknowledging where you're at. So here, if you are given the opportunity to give leadership to this, all right, I asked this to Joylene. I'm going to ask you then. So what are the non-negotiables? What are the important things we need to be able to do to start having those talent pipelines in place? And if you are the one making and advising us, what would that look like?
Okay, so me, in a leadership perspective, it will be more of psychology. Controlling Gen Z is actually much easier. You can set up an example or an influencer to influence on academic excellence, and they will actually follow suit. Mm-hmm. But in the psychology perspective of everything, I've talked about how the system runs. We need to make sure that they don't feel like they're being controlled. They need to feel that they're actually doing things because they actually want to. And Gen Zs are actually amazing because sometimes we talk about eating too much sugar is bad, but with Gen Zs, they can actually control themselves and tell themselves that I'm in a detox for eating sugar, taking detox. Calories,
yes. Yeah.
Because they haven't been told, but they have been fed this information. There's so much information moving around.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like right now there's so much information moving around, but they don't have the specific direction on this is what I should be doing, this is what I should be following, or this is the direction that's actually good, and that's what is needed.
Yeah.
And it's the same way. I come from a pastor's house, and from that background, I've seen them preach about so many things, but they don't have a clear view of what tech is. So getting in touch with the religious industries so that they can actually mentor them and tell them this is actually the right way you should follow, or this is actually the bad ways you shouldn't follow, is actually a really tough thing to be doing. But when we're talking about the system that are actually set, we need to make sure that they actually do things by themselves, but set frameworks that they can actually know that this is the direct framework to be a cybersecurity analyst, or this is a direct framework of being a data analyst. But if they don't have a direct approach to everything or a direct system to it, then they become lost. Actually, right now there was a book I was about to pick there on digital minimalism, because right now there's so much information, so much internet information going on, and I feel like if we should introduce what China is doing and controlling the information, because the information is what is affecting our generation. Because once you've set an example of maybe music industry doing all these sort of things and they actually follow suit, but what if we create an image of a successful woman in tech? That's what they can actually be inspired to do, and that's what I want to be doing as a leader. Make
Okay.
sure I'm an influence.
So I'm going to ask you, if you were to now advise, not even the president, this is somebody who is in high school, about a career path, and they're interested in these particular things. What would you be telling them to do, knowing that what Joe has said here, some of the decision makers are threatened, and it's not they're threatened because they don't know, they're threatened because this might just move them to be irrelevant, so to speak. And I think that is what my generation is struggling with. Well, will I be needed anymore? I still have another 10 years before I think about retiring. So what would you start telling that person in secondary school right now? This is cybersecurity. Here are the opportunities, but these are 1, 2, 3 things we need to be able to do to be able to be compliant. Yeah.
So this actually aligns to what I've been doing. I have a small teenager in the house. She's my little sister.
Yeah.
And when you talk about a high school, I talk about a teenager because I tell her to start hard early.
Start hard early.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that if it's programming, don't let anybody tell you that you're too young to start.
Yeah.
Start it then, because people have, like, there's so many children doing so much amazing stuff, and when they reach in their campus years, they are actually ahead of the system.
Yeah.
And we need our kids or our teenagers to be actually ahead of the system so that we can actually grow as a country.
Yeah.
So making sure that all these resources, if it's cybersecurity, let them have access as early as high school. If it's anything to do with computers, if it's anything to do with medicine, make sure they have all the resources, all the books, and that's what I've been pushing.
Okay. Dr. Githinji, it just seems that this technology is just going faster than the guardrails. I don't even think ISO standards, are keeping up with what is going on. As an educator, how do you advise, or how would you advise those at the decision-making places to be able to be compliant with, first, cybersecurity in itself, but also to continue to feed this pipeline? We've just heard the way John is frustrated. He uses words like archaic. What other words did you use, John? Selfish, outdated. So you, as a cybersecurity educator and a consultant, how would you advise, and what do you think the things that we can be able to do and helping people here to be able to wrap their head around this?
Yeah, thanks for that. I think one of the greatest things that is lacking in the education sector is lack of integration of R&D in the curriculum, so that whatever research, and meaning we're working with the government institutions, the private sectors, working on those solutions. And then the other thing is most of these institutions, they fail to do what we refer to as need assessment. So you want ISO 27001 to work for you, it will not work for you because the current security threats, we are doing things like now quantum computing, but we are just here and we are not preparing ourselves how these AI models will be attacked by quantum computing. What are we doing as researchers? What are we doing as educators to build our curriculum so that it can be able to align to that sector? What also are we doing to have research in those sectors? And I'm happy to see some of my current former students who are doing those research in those fields. But I think all in all, I think what we need to do is that we have to set it right, and you have to also localize these policies. We have the Malabo Convention, we have the African Union. We look at those things and then ask ourselves, how do we localize them as consultants working on these? Because yes, you might pick something on NIST policy, you might pick something on ISO framework, but then it might not. It's not one fit all. So you have to look at your need assessment for the institutions. If it is a education institution, one might be able to ask who are you admitting? We are admitting students who are very good in programming.
Yeah.
They're even more advanced than the professors who are doing the programming. So how do you nurture them? How do you nurture those?
Let me ask you that question. So you're also a teacher on this.
Yeah.
So you have, I believe you have found students who are much smarter than you.
Yeah.
What is the place of learning and exchange in that place?
It's actually very easy to work with Gen Zs, and I think I find myself to feel better when I'm working with them, because they can actually be able to tell you, Professor, this is not how it is done. We can use this tool for it to work this way. So once we, as professionals, we should not fear them. We should just try to integrate ourselves to them, because someone say they are ahead of us.
So what does learning look like as a professor, a teacher, with students who are ahead of you? So what does that look like? Share with me.
The environment looks scary, because you might think that they know, but they require a lot of guidance.
Yes.
Because all these things, there's a lot of ethical issues behind the scenes.
Yes.
They might be able to use the tools, yes.
Yes.
But they don't understand, let's say, the mathematical aspect of those technologies.
Yes.
So I think for us now, we are more building on the core component.
Yes.
And then they're able to navigate through the big ones and they're able to come up with solutions into whatever field they are.
There's a values question here, John, and you're a big thing about cybersecurity enablement or training. Actually, I want to move the word from training to become learning. All right, because training has a paternalistic thing. How would you continue? I hear your frustration, but how could you continue to be able to encourage these young people? They say pressure from below also can also be received. What would you advise people like Shifra and others to be able to, the powers that be, to be facing and thinking like Prof here?
I wish you can rephrase the question in an atmosphere whereby it is helping them and not me.
You see, you are on. And why I ask this is because what CyberPro is doing, all right, I would imagine, and I think it's cutting edge. You are at the tip of the spear. And so maybe, how are the conversations like? Maybe let me rephrase that. What are the conversations like with the industry players, with government, and others who really should need more talent in cybersecurity in the different sectors?
After much struggling, especially personally and also from the workplace, I came to realize that everybody is born with their own talent. But there's an equalizer which is called the money, which nobody wants to talk about it. The dude with the money doesn't know how it is done. And the guy who knows how it is done doesn't even care. He's out there smoking weed. That's the guy we need to deal with. Most of the talent expert and the pipelines and cyber and every other curricula we have in this world, the guys who are doing it don't even know what they are doing. And the discoveries and the major expansion and the major discoveries in the world today are held up by people who even never went to university. They are sitting out with guys who he did one thing continuously, now he's an expert in it and he has nowhere to present it. So first thing is the same thing I said. Accept that there are guys who can do it better than the guys who are holding the same place. I'm the kind of guy who hires every day. If I get a better guy, I bring him in. I find he's not better than the guy we have, then they bring another one. Just like that. Why? Because I believe I will get the best guy out of 10 million guys. First thing, accept. The people that it's a continuous thing that it's a continuous way of living that every new day a new talent is coming up and a new guy who is smarter than the other one who is there is already being born and coming up. And I'll give an example of my son because most of you guys are being too personal. My son did a degree in something I don't even know because I wasn't caring about it. I thought he was to be a tech. And I brought him to my office and we were working together and he was the best. And he quit. He said, I don't want to work here. Why? I want to do something else. What does he do? Sell potatoes. With your degree, yes, you are selling potatoes. How that me kind of got me to some, epilepsy. And I left one day, I was in the streets of London and it was giving me a lot of stress. And I asked, a bright guy was also running a shop and he had his son there. My son is doing this and this. He said, your son is a manufacturer. I said, bro, he's selling potatoes. That's a manufacturer. Just get him a machine. Send him to China. He'll get a machine and come and do something better. So when we are talking about talent pipelines and building them, everybody has his own talent. The challenge we have is we are using a measuring tape, which doesn't work for them. And that's why we'll always fight. The only way we can do it is accept them to discover their talent pipeline. So I have an idea. The guy, do whatever you can do to get the money. Then with the money you get, you can now pursue the things you love doing. That's for the Gen Zs. If you have to farm, do farming. Get the money, then pursue your coding with the money. And it will be easier for you knowing that I'm doing this so that I can do that. But if you say, I want to be a pilot, and you don't even have a wheelbarrow, bro, you'll walk.
So I want to add one thing.
Yes.
In my country now, the president, John Dramani Mahama, before campaigning, did say that he wants to introduce a STEM where there will be coding in all schools. Today, as we speak, they've started some framework on that. And he's always been saying that he doesn't want to disappoint the Gen Zs. The next generation doesn't want to disappoint the Gen Zs. And so I believe that the mindset of the youth now in primary school who are learning coding will change the future of how they see things tomorrow. And I believe that if the African country today will adopt some of these things, like she said, the hard. You said something about learn the hard way, right?
Yes. Learn hard things
Learn
first.
hard things first.
Yes.
And I believe that in my country, Ghana, we started that thing in the primary school already, which can go far, helping the youth today.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And then also this discourse will go far
Yeah.
to shape the mindset of those in governance, those in positions of influence, to know what the Gen Zs are thinking now.
Got you.
Thank
Got
you.
Yeah.
Joe, maybe if you excuse me, one of the reasons why I found everyone is pursuing IT and coding and the basic thing is money. Guys, we are living in an economy whereby everybody is looking at money. And the reason we are all here.
John, I disagree with you. I think
There is
solve
money,
solutions
there
to
is
solve
money
problems
in
in the future
computing.
first.
There is so much money in computing.
But
Everybody wants to pursue that. Nobody is doing computing for fun. And I withdraw.
All right. Joe, and then Shifra, yes. You're saying you disagree, and why do you disagree? Because there's still an existential thing. It's a bread and butter thing. Maybe bread and butter is too Western. We would say here an ugali and skuma wiki thing. So you would say it's a fufu and what? I don't know what you would say it's there. But it's a basic existential thing. I think he has a point, but why would you disagree?
I have listened to some conversations in these directions, and it's more or less like shaping the mindset of the Gen Zs at the time or today now, so they can solve problems for tomorrow. Today in China, a lot of the youth today are doing so many things. A kid in class 2 or primary 1 or 2, they go test the IQ. They tell what the IQ the child can do for the future. They begin to shape the child in that direction. And not because of the money.
Yeah.
That's why I disagree with John.
Got you. All right. Shifra, you had something to say.
Yeah, my point is on standardizations on the curriculums in academia. This is targeting to John. There's so much resources that needs to be given to the Gen Zs, and the ones that they need to have access to has been monetized, that the industry has been made a market of people who need money, that they're not getting the necessary skills that is actually needed. So you find somebody offering a course, or maybe $450, and it's something that's very introductory.
Yeah.
And it's not only happening in people who are building a personal brand, but it's also happening in different institutions. They're saying we have cybersecurity, and it's something because it's a hype, or we have AI. But when you go there, pay the price, and they offer the specific courses, you find that, if you are a technical person, you look at the course and you're like, really? This
Yeah.
for $450? Why?
Yeah.
Why offer this? So there need to be a certain kind of standardization, and I put much respect on how China is doing their standardization, and this needs to be implemented in the local perspective.
Prof, just changia that on much more standardization.
Yeah.
And I think there's a place for that and to engage in that. Would you just add on to what she has said? Just
Yeah.
hold on. But if we do have any questions, I'm going to ask, are there any questions that you want to ask the panel before we begin to summarize our conversation? Any questions here? All right, we do have one. Emily, I seen you. You are with COOPS, right? Yes, so it's good to be able to hear from you. Anybody else? Anybody else who has a question? Okay, if we can get a mic close to her after Daktari has spoken, and then we can hear from that. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you. A good point. Because what is lacking is actually is most of the institutions they build this curriculum, even the industries.
Yes.
They do, let's say, introduction to cybersecurity or introduction to AI, but they haven't done anything on engaging who are the consumers of this training. What do they want to do?
So you're saying there's a disconnect?
There's this big disconnect.
Okay.
And even if you go to, let's say, the Commission of University of Education,
Mm-hmm.
they might not even have someone who understands AI and is going to review a program that is going to address issues to do the AI.
So who does that?
It's all about partnership,
Ah.
the industry, the government, the institution, so that as we build this curriculum, we'll be able to say that part of this program is actually being trained by the industry experts.
Yeah.
A part of the portion of these, the student will be able to go and do the implementations. We have to totally change everything, whatever you're doing.
Would they accept that this meets
They
criteria?
there's no option.
There's no option.
There's no option. You have to be sustainable. And we have aspect of sustainability in this AI and
Yeah.
cybersecurity and all those things.
Yes.
We must have programs that cut across the industry,
Yeah.
the institutions, and whoever.
Do you know if there's any industry partnership between, the standardization people at academia or at KICD who are in partnership with industry?
They do, but
Yes.
they are very more on the specific aspect of the program.
Yeah.
He's mentioned about money and all those things. The institutions are there. Is that how many students are going to enroll for this program?
Yeah.
But then, what impact is that program doing
Got you.
to the society?
Okay.
I think that's the main thing, and we have to work together, and also we have to accept as an industry. You have to
Yes.
come back to the institutions
Yes.
to help them to do the partnership and also to build those programs.
It's a scratch my back, scratch your back
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly.
That collaboration. All right. Emily, you had a question. Yes.
Okay, so I have a question, but now this will go back to AI governance. Before I will roll back to ask on standardization of the curriculum. So we have been talking a lot about the Gen Zs and all that, and I'm just forced to ask the question, with the things happening, how will AI governance frameworks ensure that the models are being developed and all along still uphold to the African culture, to our values, are not lost along the way? Or will we now get lost of everything and run on with imported culture from the Western countries? So that's what I wanted to loop in, but I will come over again to discuss on standardization of the curriculum because I'm from COOPS and that touches us in a big way,
Okay.
but probably later.
Hold the mic. So we'll come back to that. Ambassador of responsible AI, how would you respond to that question? These are things that are standards that align with our African values, standards that align with our national principles and our cultural principles and cultural values. Just changia kidogo on that.
So on that just lies down to the talent pipelines, because we've been talking about how much we are becoming the consumers and not the architects, right? But the architects are now the Gen Zs that we are actually talking about. And that's where Jolene's point comes in on the grassroots, because once we empower the Gen Zs to actually make sure that they are creating all these platforms, then we can be able to create platforms that and AI models that are actually having the sense of African perspective. Like the example that I gave of the mentee I was mentoring, who's creating a platform in Taita Taveta, and she's building a solution for their local problem. So that's what we need to be doing, making sure that our talent pipelines align and making sure that we support them and having the necessary startups. If they have a specific platform that they're building for AI, let's support them. It's the same way that we need to have an eyesight of the people who are building this stuff and make sure that the necessary funding are gotten to them.
Dr. Just before we go on to that last question, are there places where you are informed about people are intentional about creating structures like that, but are informed by our own values, by our own cultural values, African values? Do you have any experience of that or knowledge of that?
What is existing in the market is they are too generic.
They're too generic.
Too generic.
Yeah.
And there is no one fit, or we haven't gone that to, even though there are people who are doing even the NLP translate in the local languages and such stuff.
Yeah.
But they are still too generic, but then it falls back to use of data sets
Yes.
or models that are developed by other people.
So unpack that data set thing. So earlier, Joe asked that question, and even I think it's 2 days before, he asked another question about Africans creating African solutions. So just unpack that a bit more about original data sets that come from here.
Yeah, we have the infrastructure. We have a culture of not sharing. Like for instance, if there's some maybe a student who's doing, let's say, a model to do threat detections.
Yes.
You realize that they just need to go to eCitizen and get the data and build a model based on what eCitizen is capturing. But we are not ready to give them the data. We are calling them hackers. You heard about the guy who was somewhere in the Tatu City, yeah.
Yes, in Tatu City.
Tatu
Yes.
City. Yeah, but I think we should tap such talents, because they are exploiting the gap that is existing.
He is actually being charged, and can spend 20 years in jail. But the information that young man now has could actually help the institution that he got into.
Exactly.
But we're not excusing what he did, but that's a resource.
There's always a pardon for everything, but ideally we are saying that we are not preparing ourselves to those issues that are happening. And for data sets, we are 0-8.
Yeah.
For infrastructure, we are still at 0-8.
Yeah.
Because we are creating with our data set, but we don't own the infrastructure also.
Okay. All right. We have about 3 more minutes. I'm going to ask you, Emily, to ask your second question, and then Fred here from Ghana will ask the last question. Emily, do you still have your mic and your other question? And then you can pass the mic to Fred right here. And let's capture both your questions at the same time so we can conclude. Once we answer them, we're also doing our closing remarks. Go ahead.
Okay, so our government is providing a lot of funding to TVETs. As we know, TVET institutions are normally based in giving now the skills, the hands-on skills to students.
Just for those who are not Kenyans here, just explain what TVET would be.
Okay.
Technical vocational education institutions, right?
Yes.
Okay.
They're normally in the previous years, the students who go to TVET institutions are those who have grades that are not maybe they couldn't get to universities with those grades.
Okay.
So they could opt in to go to TVETs.
Okay.
If someone wanted to do engineering in a university and maybe they didn't attain a grade for that, they may opt to go to a TVET.
Okay.
But now, as time goes by, you find that students who even have grades that can have that engineering in a university may opt to go to TVET institutions to study the same program and opt to have a diploma rather than having now the degree. And now that brings back to the curriculum issue. That means maybe in the university there's a gap which they may not be covering, rendering those students coming from the TVET institutions more skilled, more hands-on compared to that. I don't know, from your perspective, what are the things that maybe the government can put in place starting over that may ensure that the gap is bridged
Okay.
and also everything is catered for? And maybe in your view, do you also think that TVETs actually offer the skills that students go for, or it's a hearsay?
All right, I'll give that again back to you, John, with your experience, and Dr. On the TVET question. If you can pass the mic on to, thank you, Emily. If you can pass the mic just here in front. We have Fred from Ghana. What is your question, sir?
Before my question, Ghana is far advanced in TVET.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
My question is more to John.
Sure.
CyberPro.
Yes.
All this that we are talking about is about how we can hold a balance between the Gen Zs and the old generation.
Yes.
Of which it largely depends on the curriculum standardization.
Yes.
If we are able to put in good curriculum from the beginning,
Yeah.
in the next 5-10 years' time, we will not be talking about how to hold a balance.
Yeah.
But what is CyberPro doing, at least for Ghana, South Africa, Kenya, who are currently leading in cybersecurity in Africa, the three, how do we hold ourselves to put in a standard curriculum that the other African countries coming up can pick? By 10 years' time, the whole Africa will be on one page.
Okay.
There will not be fragmentations of cybersecurity curriculum. There will not be fragmentation of our laws. How do the three leading countries, how do we come together to put up something of that sort?
All right.
CyberPro, I think you
So,
can lead that charge.
Let me manage this. The two of you can speak on the two questions that have come out, and then also work on giving your closing remarks. So I'll start with you, coming this way till Shifra.
Let me just share what CyberPro is doing and what we can all of us do. First thing is, it says we cannot do standardization of cybersecurity because the curriculum is ever changing, and that is the challenge we have in the education sector. I'll give you the best example is let me use the COVID-19. And that thing changed my life because when I looked at the time they announced that we have found the solution for COVID, everybody in every continent said, oh, even us, we have French head, the China head, the Americans head, everybody head. And then all of it, when it ceased everywhere. Why is it we don't have COVID-19 now? The same thing with cyber. If you say the basics of cybersecurity, which should be pushed out to everyone, is a simple thing. In 5 years and 4 years and 3 years, which is the lifespan of our curricula, we don't think it will be existing. I would be speaking from my own heart. There's nothing called standardization in cybersecurity. The coding modalities are changing. The need for cyber discovery and everything in cyber is changing. Is mutating every now and then. We are new chat GPTs and then new PTs, I don't know what to call them, because of the homogeneous culture of the curricula we are pursuing. So the best thing is get involved with what is happening in other areas. I am the one who said Africa for Africa, and sometimes I want to withdraw that word because we don't even manufacture this thing I'm talking to.
It's a nice.
We don't. So we can calibrate to match what is happening in other countries, but surely Africans, we can't. We can't do Africa for Africans. We cannot say we are doing our own data sets to train us how to take, in my mother, Uji, or something like how my model to speak in Swahili back to me. Everybody is wearing clothes. We should wear skin cows and train our models to wear skin cows. We all want to be like America. We all want to be like China. All we need to do is customize what is here to be used in the world. So if we discover a model here, we can sell it to Japan. And I look at our curricular setup that it should be adaptable to what is happening in the world so that we can say we have a global standard. But we don't have an African global standard. So we cannot say we are going to standardize our curricula on our changing. The river is changing its course all the time. We cannot modernize that.
Right.
But people will say that we are changing. We want a curricula for Africa. It will not work. We are coding in English. Anybody is coding in Swahili?
Nobody's is people coding in Hausa?
The language for coding is English.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I can jump to that in regards to the question.
So as you finish, I want Joe to think we have a comparative advantage as Africa. So I want to, as you close, address that to you, Joe. What is our comparative advantage, and how can we do that? Because I don't want John to have the last say. I don't want doom and gloom here. We need to come out here knowing that we're going to do something. So, Dr. help us.
Yeah, just address the issue of TVET and the accreditation of those TVETs.
Yes.
I think what we need is what we call the micro accreditation. So that
micro accreditation, right?
Yeah. So that if, for instance, we have a program, let's say, on AI and robotics, either professor might be able to do very good on AI and cybersecurity, but I may not have the welding skills. That course can actually be done at the TVET and can be part of the program. So it's not offering the whole program, but then some of them can be evolved to where they actually required to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
So I think that's basically it. And in universities, myself, I'm at USIU Africa.
Yeah.
And we are doing all those things there. But I'm also a consultant on iTrek, and we are trying to do as much as possible to do those micro accreditations for cybersecurity, AI, and IS governance policies.
Thank you. Thank you. That's insightful. Joe, take us home here, but please don't leave us with gloom and doom.
So I think that it's about time we start having discussion on the African perspective.
Yeah.
The time is now.
Yeah.
We could start with proposals to the authorities that be, and once they see that there's pressure from the Gen Zs that this is the focus, that this is where they want to go, I believe it will change the focus and the mindset of those who take the decisions. And stakeholder engagement is key in this.
Yeah.
For example, in the amendment bill that I saw in my country today, there's an introduction of cybersecurity training from the primary school in Ghana. It will start from when the bill is passed.
Yeah.
So that tells you what the focus is with the leaders in my country.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other African country, but I think that global perspective, we cannot do same, so we can align in my thought. Thank you.
Thank you. I will have you have the last word.
Yes, thank you. Speaking for the young people, what I think is the last thing I need to say is that give us a chance to lead, because I've seen so many times we get so many discriminations when we are trying to lead something, and people look at us as if we don't know anything, and it's not as if, okay, we need mentorship, but you need to let us lead also in the different capacity building and different innovations that we're actually building. And talking in the perspective of the local regions, let's make sure that wherever you are, or wherever the home country that you come from, whether it's in Ghana, whether it's in Kisumu or Luya, those Busia places, make sure that you empower someone who is in those local regions. Don't discourage them that they won't succeed in those places. Make sure that they get the necessary resources. There's so many hubs that are being built in different counties. So let's make sure they just have access to those hubs. Make sure they have access to those internet connected places, and help them build the systems while they are at home, because that's the only way we can build systems and solving problems that actually come from African origin. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's appreciate our panel. Dr. Mwanzia, I'd like to just throw this to you. Maybe it's a food for thought moving forward after, when we're doing the review on this. You are there in the corridors of power, so to speak. I have heard, especially from Safra, saying this, and Dr. Gidinji has alluded to this. Placement is also compliance. So if you put a Gen Z to lead, you're actually being compliant. Maybe it's we're afraid of failing. All right, you want to be perfect in itself. What I'm hearing here from this place is possibly that there has to be a place where we recognize, as John has said, for lack of a better word in counseling, we are the chemical dependents. We have to accept that we are not in leadership in this particular area. And possibly, how does it look moving forward when we are placing? They might not have the credentialing, they may not have the leadership in itself, but they have the technical knowledge, they have the aptitude, and they actually know how. Maybe I'll give you the last word on that moving forward as we close this conversation.
Thank you so much, moderator, for giving me an opportunity to voice out some of these.
Sure. I'll give you maybe
perspectives.
about 2 minutes. Is that okay? Is that
That's okay.
Okay, yes.
That's too much even.
That's too much.
I want to add to what a professor was talking about here. He talked about micro accreditation.
Yes.
I also want to challenge us to think about cybersecurity and the techno environment, which is so dynamic and sometimes quite ambiguous.
Yes. It's very fluid.
Very fluid.
Yes.
So the question is, how do we position ourselves, even when we have policy frameworks and strategies, and it is evolving every other time? The government, through the Kenya National Qualifications Authority, where the TVETs are also registered and accredited, is providing opportunities for what we call recognition of prior learning. That is, we take youth who are learning at home, sometimes not even enrolled in the school.
Yes.
But in Kenya here and in Africa, we know education is a right and children must go to school.
But there's University of YouTube.
Yes.
They're
But
learning,
even
yes.
when they drop out and they are learning through the University of YouTube,
Yes.
there is that the employers want to see your capability and skill. What
Yes.
is it that you can do?
Yes.
But there is always sometimes this obsession with certification.
Yes.
What is this evidence that you will present to me that you actually can do?
Yes.
That is first, before I even know you and engage you through either simulation, an interview, or I give you some task to complete as I assess you.
Yes.
So the Kenya National Qualifications Authority has that process of conducting prior learning, recognizing prior learning.
Prior learning, right?
Prior learning.
Yeah.
And then this is a situation where employers can employ people because they have seen this is the skill I want. They are able to do the work I want, and they're able to give me the product I
Okay.
want. But then this person has to go through that process of being assessed.
Yes.
And most TVETs have been accredited as qualification examination centers.
Along with the Kenya National
Qualifications.
Yeah.
So they apply to be assessed and they build their profile. Kenya National Qualifications Authority takes them through the process of what they need to prepare. If it is hospitality, if it is this IT,
Yes.
what is this that you can do? And
Yeah.
you are given a certificate
Yeah.
for that which you can do.
Okay.
And you're not required to go to school. Because you are assessed on your abilities and they're able to see you can do that. So recognition of prior learning, we can educate ourselves and also spread the gospel
Good.
around that.
Okay.
And I know Kenya School of Government is in that process
All right.
of a good number, more than 100 of our employees here. And
Yeah.
Kenya School of Government should be given a clap.
All right, let's clap for KSG. Right?
Because we already are supporting that
You're already
process.
doing it.
Yes.
You're already doing it and
Yes,
recognize
yes.
prior learning in
Yes.
itself. Now, my take here on what Shifra was saying here is that young people are not aware of that. And it goes back to what we said earlier in the
Yes.
morning. There's greater awareness the public needs to know, and especially of this emerging generation. Maybe you can have the last closing remarks, and then we can have our last thing for this afternoon.
So continual curricular review is very important to align with the emergent technologies and the trends within cybersecurity. And the policy frameworks sometimes are never the issue. If you look at, for example, university curricula, within every 5 years, you're supposed to give it a complete review, overhaul, and it goes through approval again. But within the 5 years, you can review continually to embed and integrate any emergent technologies and address whatever issues are arising. In Kenya School of Government, we do that also continually. And a good number of our programs are also accredited by the Kenya National Qualifications Authority. So curriculum review. And then partnerships. The previous panel and even this one has talked about partnerships. And if we're talking about talent piping, it is about what is the need that we need to address in the market. And so research needs to be conducted continually so that it is giving us the areas of need and also pointing us to what could be the solutions that we bring. Because a curriculum is a catalyst. It is actually a change, a transformational instrument, and it must be responding to the need. So the question of universities or capacity building institutions are not offering knowledge that is aligned to the industry. We need then to invest more in the research, in what we call training needs assessment, gap assessments, so that the curricula are directly responding to those needs. And if then the industry needs this kind of talent, then the courses are directly aligned.
Thank you.
Earlier, we talked about internships and attachment into government and into the private sector, and that require a well-coordinated, structured partnership framework.
All right.
I know Public Service Commission is doing something to that effect, supporting the public service, but a lot more needs to be done.
Thank you.
In that, there's a lot we can share. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's appreciate Dr. Daktari for that. We've come to the end of this this session, and I appreciate your participation in this, participants. We have one more presentation for this afternoon. I'm going to ask that these panelists, if you appreciate them one more time, to please stand in the middle over there for a group photo. Our photographer for the event, please. A round of applause for them one more time. I'm going to ask that we all be upstanding. Be upstanding. Let's be on our feet. All right. We had some lunch, so let's just shake it off. Again, let's stretch up, reach for the ceiling. All right, and we touch our toes. Reach for the ceiling. Touch our toes. All right, you may be seated. Sangra, are you here? I'm going to call Sangra from Huawei. Huawei are our main partners here at Cyber Week Africa, and they have done a great deal. I want us to appreciate Huawei one more time. Let's. You need to be. Let me give you an example. You know, when you go and you really eat a meal and you're really full, and you're saying, Maze, yo chakula libamba sana. Okay? I think Huawei deserves much better than that. Let's give them a round of applause. Makofi kwao. We appreciate Adam and the team. Sangra, please do come up and give us our last presentation for the afternoon. Tafadhali.
Slides up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. So the year is 1987, and Mobutu Sese Seko pushes Franco to release an album known as Attention Nasida. Very good album. At that time, they were doing vinyl records. The main aim of that album was to address the issue of AIDS. That was something very rampant and going around. And we are happy that today it's not a common problem. We go back to Dr. Joseph Pope, who was doing the same research on the same thing that Franco released a record to make people aware. So while he was doing a research, at that time barely people was funding that research, and he saw that, yeah, this is shitty. I won't proceed doing this. So what does he do? He gets a floppy disk. Actually, a floppy disk was more of a USB. Creates something, puts it inside, and labels that as AIDS information. And at that time, also researchers were trying to do a research to solve that. So any information was critical, and that was being gotten through a floppy disk. So researchers got hold of those floppy disks, put them in their computers, day 1, day 2, till day 91. After day 91, what happens? Your machine locks. Yeah. So what happens in day 91? Your machine locks and you get a message. Please send $189 to this address, PO Box, Panama. The first detected ransomware by John Pope doing his research on HIV/AIDS. I'm Sangra Ogoe, IP Solutions Engineer at Huawei. Today we'll be talking about anti-ransomware solution. As you all know, ransomware is the most common attack that we do get. So today we'll be talking about the trends. What trends are we getting from this ransomware? We'll talk what is Huawei doing behind to solve this urgent issue. And then what cases have we been able to curb through the anti-ransomware solution? So on the trends, as you can see, the trends on how hacking started. So we started with the most simple one, guessing passwords, which we normally do. Those cybersecurity guys, brute force attack, where you create a script, try inputting the password. The common passwords are 1 to 8. Another common password is, yes? Password, yes, 1, 2, 3 hash. So that was the most common that we are using. Then we grew until we had so much powerful attacks and threats. But today we'll just be focusing on the ransomware attack and threats. So what is the most common? So the most common that you're facing is RAS. Who has a clue what RAS is? Let me give you a clue. We have SaaS. From SaaS, I think you can get RAS. SaaS is software as a service. So RAS can be? Thank you, ransomware as a service. So these days they pay highly skilled ransomware attackers to attack you guys with ransomware, then mtaongea nyuma ya tent on how you'll be able to defend this money. So the most common ransomware attack that we have is Lockbit. So Lockbit is just a group of hackers, more of an organization. Their work is you hire them and they find your guy, do a ransom, and you pay them for what you have. So this is the most common trend that I think we should be working towards to curb such challenges. Other things are locking of data, breaching, small minor incidences that we do have. So what's the first step to hacking someone or getting into their systems? So we have a common thing that links us, makes us to communicate to everyone. and that is the internet. The internet can make me know what's happening here at US, and I'm in Kenya. I can know what's happening in China. Actually, I've heard you talk about China too much. I think it's the best setup for this event. Yeah, through the internet. So it's always through the internet where we get these attackers, send you an email, phishing, or they send you just something, you open it into your machine and boom, PO Box, Panama, send $189. So with the Huawei multi-layer ransomware solution, what do we offer different in terms of a solution? So the most common solution that we do have is we are gatekeeping. We just put the firewall. Every machine has an antivirus installed. And then we say we are safe. How many of us are movie lovers? How many watch movies? A lot, yeah. The Terminator 4. Before John Connor shoots the robot, what does the robot tell John Connor? Anyone? I'll be back is the last thing he says. He says that the human being is the weakest link, and they're using machines to replace the weakest. Yeah, and that's the whole essence of Terminator, having robots rule all over. So these attacks are not that you're not having strong systems or anything. It's we are the weakest link. And if you can't beat them, join them. So I can't correct you. So in that essence, I'll give you a multi-layer solution. So what does the solution do? You see, we have many layers. We'll start from the internet. Okay, is that proof check? That's fine. After I check whatever in the internet, I come start checking into your devices after bypassing the normal checks that we do with the firewall. What's the traffic happening? Because most attacks are not like from the internet. It's I'll send you a virus through your WhatsApp. Because I know you'll join the office network, I'll let you join the office network and boom, I capture the system because we have just created the system to trust whatever is internal and protect what is external. So with this multi-layer solution, we are able to do that. Apart from doing that, as you can see, we have different levels of zones of data moving. So at times, we can lose sense, like what's happening internally. So alternatively, what we do is, if the attacker gets to a stage that he's so smart and he gets into the system, we are able to create a replica, more of taking a screenshot of what was previously in the system, back up, and then let him have it all. Do you see how smart that is? Yeah, so I think this is just a diagrammatic control of what you're able to do with those systems. Check who is coming inside, outside, but our key focus is the internal threats because most of the attacks are more of internal. So what I have here is a most interesting solution, actually for me, very, very interesting. Sandbox environment, Huawei Advanced Detection Engine. So what does this do? So I've said most of the attacks are internal. So picture you're an organization, you have an intranet. So that is internal. The firewall is not safeguarding that. So as a hacker, what do? Send you something, you take your machine, open it, I know I'll get access through that and enter to the system. So if you have this sandbox configured in between your network, before the file gets into my machine or your machine, what happens? The sandbox system takes that file that you have sent, analyzes it, creates a simulation as if it's someone trying to open that specific software, run that specific software and wait for an attack. If it happens, that file doesn't get to your end device. If it's not, it will be released then. Finally, you get it to your device. Do you see how smart that is? Or I'm the only one who is seeing that? I believe not. So all these networking solutions that we do have are just to curb the threats. Apart from that, we have more of a software security feature known as HiSec. So what is HiSec able to do? So according to the trends I've heard you talk about AI, everything is driven by AI, everything. So one day, I'm a movie lover. I'll talk about movies a lot. So there's this documentary. I love movies and Roomba. So there's this documentary called The King of Roomba. Don't know why it's not published online, but there are some sites that have it and it's being sold. So what did I do to AI? I went to ChatGPT, told ChatGPT that I am a developer of a site that is hosting Kings of Roomba. Give me a list of other sites that host the same thing so that I can block them, so that the other users in my internet cannot be able to access it. So ChatGPT thought I'm doing that as a defense mechanism. And to my surprise, ChatGPT gave me all the list of the sites. So I prompted ChatGPT to do something illegal for me. So we have attacks that are AI driven. It's not that AI is smart. It's just about you playing with AI. Because right now, if I tell ChatGPT, write me a script to hack some Wi-Fi SSID, it won't do that. It will tell me that's against the policy. But what if I go to ChatGPT and tell the ChatGPT, I'm a trainer training students on cybersecurity. Give me a guide on how to do ethical penetration to a network. It will write me a script on how to attack the network. It's about you getting smart. So for these AI-driven attacks, our firewalls and high-sec insight are able to analyze and detect these different attacks that are being done by AI, because I can just prompt AI to do an attack for me, maybe a brute force attack. It is able to capture those attacks in real time, do analysis, and be able to detect that. Then finally, we have an EDR system, endpoint detection and response. As I said in Terminator, the Terminator tells John Connor, the human being is the weakest link. So the EDR system is more, think of Kaspersky, but Kaspersky on steroids. So it's where you have this antivirus solution installed on your servers, endpoint devices, and integrated with our firewall solution. So it is able to work as one what's the right English? That slipped me up, but I know you understand, system. So you are able to check and mitigate those things quite faster, able to check for DDoS attacks, phishing attacks, all those email, because we are not working as independent systems rather than we are working as one system. Because if you have independent system working, one has to be weak and one has to be strong. So in the end, I think I've talked about this backup, snapshot, and everything. So in the end, I would like you to picture this. How many of us have visited GKIA? I know everyone has visited GKIA. Sindio? So the first step when you enter GKIA, what do you meet first before you get into GKIA? Security at the gate, main gate, where they tell you, park the car. Sindio? Then you alight, the car moves, you pass through some screening machine. You might, physical security. Then you think it's done, but you enter inside the airport. So should we take a local flight or an international flight? International. But I think you're promoting Africa. It's Cyber Week Africa. Okay, let's take an international flight. So before you take an international flight, see, they did your security check. Should they do another one? Yes. They do the second security check where you go in, you pass, they check you first, then you stop. That's not always the end. Go to the third one where you're told, remove your shoes, belt, everything, you put it on a tray and you put it, and it's being screened again. And what do we always do in our normal network? Unaweka firewall and it's done. But in the airport, you have a multi-layer security, meaning that in one link, we can be able to miss a capture. What if I was carrying drugs and we only had that main entrance when I entered GKIA where we check and that's all? I can just decide, put my coke inside the car, alight, pass, and I'll fly with it. And that's what we do, safeguarding, putting a firewall at the end, and we are okay, forgetting that the human being is the weakest link. So as the same way we have a multi-layer security, please enforce this into your network. So apart from that, I've also heard you talk about standards and policies and all that. So you might say that we don't meet the standards, but according to Tolly, we meet all the required standards for having these solutions. Our solutions have been tested, passed through the lab. I hear a lot of rumors saying that our solution compromises other solutions. It's not compromising other solutions, but it's integrating and working in a synchronym with the other solutions that we do have. So apart from that, thank you. I believe that was my time. Will I take questions? Questions? No questions. Can I add on something? Is my time up? I have 2 minutes. Let me use these 2 minutes to do something different. I've gone too fast. Actually, I had the policymakers talk about how we should grow about tech, everything. Personally, I'm a politician, and one day I would want to get into politics. My personal opinion on Africa tech and everything is Africa, the only problem that we do have is, my personal belief is, we are trying to move too fast. We are trying to solve tomorrow's problems, yet we have today's problems and yesterday's problems. We are trying to compare ourselves with bigger countries who have solved yesterday's problems and today's problems. They're just looking for future problems to counterattack. And when they introduced AI, we are quick in rushing and copying AI. Do we need AI? Yet we have hungry people in Turkana. Do we need AI? Yet we have people being attacked by bandits in Lamu. I think we should start by solving the hunger, the attacks, and then coming and sitting down and having a discussion on AI. Do we really need it? Another thing that I think we should do is, you've talked about China too much. Working for Huawei, I've got to interact with the Chinese, and when we go to meetings and they see Nairobi, especially for the new Chinese, they tell me that 10 years ago or 20 years ago, China looked like Nairobi. But look at China right now. Do you remember early in the 2000s when you'll go buy a pencil made in China and you'll say that it's fake? Unaandika, it breaks. You write, it breaks. Or you'll buy a sharpener, you use it and it gets spoiled. You buy a machine, and people commonly knew that China produces fake products. China was not producing fake products. China was working on their manufacturing capability. They took their time to learn the craft, how to make it, how to push it, and right now it's producing the best. If you want anything, you'll say go to China, go buy it at China. Right now I'm selling a Huawei solution made by Chinese. They took their time to perfect this craft. Why as Africa can we not take our time to perfect our craft? There's an African saying that God says that if you want to go far, go with others. If you want to go fast, go. But what are we doing as Africa? We are going fast, and we are going alone. Yet we want to be far instead of creating that projection. We should slow down our pace, hold hands, talk to Ghana, talk to Tanzania. Let's create a facility in Marsabit. There is a lot of land there for free. Put up factories, we'll create employment, we'll give opportunities. The richest man was Mansa Musa from Africa. We have the resources. It was not some guy from China. So yeah, I think that's my takeaway. And there's this boy who says that Africa, we have been having the Africa Union Summit, yet nothing has been happening. Today we are having a summit. We have talked too much. Then what's next? We just need to start acting. Thank you.
Thank you, Sangra. He is available after this to interact with us. And ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of day 4. Clap for yourselves. And as I promised, we'll be on time. We are actually short by 5 minutes. I'm proud of myself and I'm proud of you guys. We finished by 4 o'clock, as we had said. Enjoy. Sangra, I like that you have the last word. And again, there were the initiators of CyberPro Africa have heard what you have said, and we are working towards it. Kenya School of Government are here. What you have said has been recorded, and kama unataka siasa, we can talk after this. Once again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You are good participants today. Tomorrow, let's come back here. 8:30, we register to start at 9 o'clock. Your refreshments are right outside that door, so don't go hungry. There's something to give you some energy for the rest of the day. Hiyo kaugali nyumbani munaweza kula, but this ni kushikilia. God bless you. Have a good afternoon and evening. Tuonane kesho at 8:30. Karibuni. If anybody has misplaced a cell phone, if anyone has misplaced a cell phone, please come and we can talk. I do have it here. Anyone who's lost, it's found. Thank you.